Hi friends, I'm Swapna Gajala and I heartily welcome you all to PSSM Global's new show, Soul Connect. PSSM Global is an initiative to strengthen the roots of Pyramid Spiritual Society's movement worldwide. PSSM's sole mission is to spread Anapanasati meditation, plant-based food, spiritual science, and beneficial uses of pyramid energy to one and all. One of the 18 guiding principles of PSSM emphasizes on listening and sharing meditation experiences to enhance one's spiritual progress. Through this show, we want to connect you all to various spiritual masters across the globe who will share their words of wisdom, their journeys, and experiences. And today, I'm very happy and excited to welcome our guest, Madhu Gajala from Germany. Madhu is born in Andhra Pradesh, India. She did her studies in Bachelor of Fine Arts. She married Ram in the year 2008 and she started practicing meditation in the year 2009 when she underwent a miscarriage. After practicing meditation, she has realized that happiness is within. From then, she started sharing the joy of meditation to whomever she meets. She, along with her husband, hosted everyday meditation classes during their stay in Egypt. They moved to Germany 3.5 years back and they're continuing the same. Madhu gets visions about colors and patterns in her meditations and she puts them out in the art form. Madhu's purpose in life is to bring happiness to each and every person she meets through meditation. Her biggest inspiration is Patriji. Hi Madhu, thank you so much for accepting our request and joining the show.
Thank you, Swapna. Thank you for having me here. It is indeed a wonderful opportunity for me, and also I'm so happy to be part of this Soul Connect show. And thank you once again.
Thank you so much, Madhu. So, Madhu, can you tell us like how your spiritual journey started, how you connected to your soul first?
My spiritual journey started in the year of 2009, 2010, Swapna. It was the year when I had underwent a miscarriage, when I was in a deep depression. And my husband's family has been meditating with Patriji from past 25 years. And they told that when I got married to his family, they told me that you meditate and everything will be fine. I was not believing in that initially because how could one close their eyes and then immediately they attain healing or a lot of benefits? I was little skeptical. And then once this miscarriage happened to me in 2009, they told that you meditate at least now. So I said, okay, I'll meditate. And that was the time in the year of 2010 when I started meditating, was the time when I had connected to my soul and I have understood there is so much joy in me that I was always seeking outside. Yeah, that was the first, I think it was in 2010, May 5th was the day when I had really met my soul once again.
Beautiful, Madhu. I mean, it's so great that you put that attempt to come out of the situation that you were in, and meditation being. I mean, that's a crucial thing that really helped you come out of the trauma that you've gone through. That's amazing. So, what is your first experience in meditation that happened? Like once you started meditating, is there something significant that you?
Yes, when I started, it was in the year, as I told you, it was in the year of 2010. My first experience when I closed my eyes was thousands and thousands of thoughts. I know many people who starts meditating, they experience the same thing. But I was very dedicated. I said I want to see what it is bringing. So I was very consistent, and I said, "Come what may, I will try meditating." At least for the target of time which I have kept for a 1 week. I used to meditate for 6 hours a day. And then gradually the thoughts went down and I started being more with myself. The significant experience which I had afterwards is like, as I told, I had experienced inner joy. And apart from that, I don't see a lot of visions. Only it was in the year of 2012 I had experienced seeing visions of my art.
That's interesting. Yes, you did mention that you see these visions and the colors in your meditation, and you put them out in the form of art. So we are curious to know, like, what is the art? What is that called? And How do you come up with those designs?
Yeah, it started in the year of 2012. I studied my Bachelor of Fine Arts degree in JNTU Hyderabad and India, and I was into applied arts. I was into advertising and publicity. Was never into painting. And when I got married to Ram in the year of 2008, I was all alone in Egypt. I started, okay, let me do some drawing, but that was very baby drawing kind of a thing. But then once I started practicing meditation, I started seeing geometrical structures, geometrical shapes, and the colors which I've never seen normally. So it started appearing, and then I said, okay, let me put it into on canvas or recycled stuff. That's when the whole thing happened. I started really enjoying what I was doing. The art really came into my life, wow, in a beautiful way. And this is what I understood, Swapna. Like when we meditate, what happens is like we're all born with some talents. Everybody have some talents. What happens is when we meditate more and more, these talents comes out. These talents, it had been there, but it had been suppressed with a lot of things. So when we reconnect to our soul, this is what happens. You show up your real potential and your talents. Yeah, that's what happened with me.
Can you show us any of the art that you did?
Yes, I can show you a bottle which I made. It's my water bottle. If you can see.
Oh, yeah. Beautiful, Madhu.
So yeah, and these drawings are like a combination of Aboriginal. Aboriginal is something like Australian tribal art, and combining it with Indian art. So the designs and patterns I see are combination of both. Yeah.
Beautiful, Madhu. I mean, it's so nice that whatever you learned and now you're putting out in the form of your passion. And I see that you design a lot of these flyers and beautiful posters and all. Very, very inspiring and very impressive, Madhu.
This is what happens, Vapna. Like we should never limit ourselves. This message I've heard from Patriji a lot many times. He said we are unlimited beings. Why to limit ourselves? Why to put a block saying that I can only do this or I cannot do this? So we should not say like that. So initially, what happened is I was depending a lot on many people for designing the flyers. Since this COVID came, there's a lot of things happening, and everybody had been busy, right? So I should not ask or trouble somebody. So I said, okay, let me try. Let me see to it where it is taking me. So then that's how I started exploring, and again the talent came out. Yeah.
Well,
So,
see, that's what even I witnessed. Whatever talents we have, they definitely, as you said, they come out. I mean, you're more confident in expressing them, and you do those things better than before. I feel as you said, it's about connecting to your inner self and also gaining that confidence, once you connect. And beautifully said, no limits. So whenever we come across this situation wherein we have these fears or inhibitions or self doubt, this word that, oh, you are limitless, that one single word that, Patriji said, it definitely, brings you out of that state, and you really want to try. So I've been learning music recently. I started learning. So it's like I used to sing just on my own, but after meditation I could see so much difference in the quality and everything. So very rightly put, Madhu. So Madhu, when did you start spreading meditation and what was your experience?
I started sharing about meditation in the year of 2010 when I started practicing meditation for a week. And once I found this inner joy, from the eighth day, I said, oh, there are so many people who are like me going through a lot of things in their life, depression and health issues. So my experience should be reached to them, and they should opt meditation. That's when I've decided to share about meditation. And then initially, we used to have Indians coming to our home, because being in a Muslim country, we were a little bit scared to reach out to the locals, because anybody in this world, they think that if you put the word meditation, they link it with Buddhism. So in 2010, there was no much of people who were practicing meditation in Egypt. So that's why we did not say it out loud in Egypt about meditation. We have only confined it into to only Indians, and Indians started coming, and then slowly the Indians brought their Egyptian friends. Then they started liking it, and that's how we started sharing to the Egyptians as well. We have Muslims, Christians, and young people, old people, all kinds of people coming to our home every day. Like we have 30, 40 people every day in our home. And sometimes in the full moon meditations, we have 70 to 80 people in our living room. Everybody, it's packed in the living room. So they, wherever they find place, they sit and they just close their eyes and they meditate. And part of it, like spreading the meditations, we used to go to the schools and universities, and we used to go to offices and teach meditation. So there is one experience which I would like to share, Swapna. This When we went to school one time, like we have gathered all the kids into the playground. And because we cannot go to each and every class and teach the kids, so that's why we had made sure that all the kids are at one place, and we played music with the speakers, and they started meditating. So they were small boys, from 4.5 years till 13 or 14 years. They were all sitting there, and the music is played, and for 15 minutes they meditated. And afterwards, there was one little boy. He was like 4.5 or 4 years old. He came. I don't know their language because it's in Arabic. So he said to his teacher in Arabic that he started crying. So when we asked him, why are you crying? So he said he's an orphan. And he said that he had seen the reason why his parents had left him, and he had seen his parents in his meditation. That really touched us. Like that little boy cannot lie, that little boy cannot fake. Like being we adults, like we sometimes fake, but that little boy is so pure. And he started crying so much that he had seen his past. I mean, past in this life, why his parents had left him, and why he had become an orphan. So this was very, very touching experience, Swapna. Like these things can happen, and we see the truth, and then we can rectify it. We can rectify the truth, and this is what happened in Egypt. And from there, lot of experiences we had. Like in Egypt, it is also very common for anybody who comes for the meditation to ask, like, you have kids. This initially it used to bother me a lot. It used to, why they should question all these kind of things. Like it's personal, they should not ask like this. But it's in their culture. Like we cannot say that they are wrong, but it's in their culture. So they used to ask me that, do you have kids? And there was one time that one new person came and he meditated, and after we finished meditation, he started asking me, do you have kids? Then in the same session, there was this old man, 70-year-old man. He comes every day without missing even a single day. He used to come, and he came in between, and he said, "What do you think you're asking? Like we are all our Madhu and Ram's children. So what our parents did not teach us, these people are doing it. So Madhu and Ram has thousands of children. They said, oh, like that touched us. Like being, we don't need to be a parent physically, but for these 70-year-old man to me becoming his mother is a greatest gift for me. Like so that he had given a position of his mother. So and I feel really, really grateful for what we are doing, because we are just being available to everybody. I think if one becomes available to our fellow human being, or a neighbor, So then a world will be a really, really better place, because we are always selfish. We want to only do for ourselves. We don't want to take care of others. We only are taking care of our family. We don't bother what others are going through. So we should come out of these things, and we should share our love, and we should share our time to whoever we meet. Then I think the world will be the better place. So there are so many experiences like this. I can go on telling, like there's so many experiences to be shared of what we had experienced in Egypt.
Beautiful experience, Madhu, and you're doing such great service. And they say that you get what you give, and you're spreading so much of love, taking out your time and touching these people's lives. And I think you're getting all that love back from these people.
Swapna, I would like to share one more story which is very important, and it is about abundance and how, if our intentions are pure, how the universe will manifest. So, I would like to share here. It was in the year of 2016 that we had planned for an event called Awake. It was next to the Red Sea, and we had booked all the hotels and everything, and all the masters from all over the world. They said they want to come to Egypt and to give some message to the Egyptian people. So we had planned, and they said we will be coming with our own airfare, so you don't need to bother about the airfare. They said. So they also said that you don't need to bother about our stay, but we felt that it would be nice if we could do some contribution to their work which they are doing it for the Egyptian people. So that's why what we decided is, like, we had put a minimum fare for this event. It's a 2 days event which happened on a Friday and Saturday. Friday is a weekend for them in Egypt. So Friday and Saturday we planned for this event, and we had expected at least 100 people to be coming for this event. And the minimum fare, it was very minimum fare. Like anybody can easily go for this event, because it is very expensive otherwise, but we want everybody to be utilizing this, so we had kept it very low, just to cover the expenses of the masters, their stay, and their local airfare, and the hotel where we booked the hall. So we planned everything, and then it was just 2 days before the event that we had only 10 confirmations. So we had expected for 100 confirmations, at least 100 confirmations, so that the cost will be covered. So then me and Ram, we decided that come what may, that we have to go utilize this event. And we always remember Patriji saying that it's not about the number that matters, it's about like, if one person is ready to come and listen to the talk, maybe it is for that one person that this whole event is happening. So when we heard him saying many times in many many situations, we have also felt that we should do the same for this event. So me and Ram, we decided that we will contribute our money, because why are we earning the money? We are not interested in building a properties or anything. Like, if our money is not utilized in this grand way to be of use to somebody else, then what's the point of earning money? So we decided that we will be putting the money which Ram worked for this event. So we've decided that, and then we went. It was on the day of the event that we had very few confirmations, around 20 confirmations, and they came, and we also made sure in the internet, saying, in the Facebook, saying that if there is anybody who has problems with the money, it's okay, you don't need to pay money, but just come and utilize this opportunity, because these masters are amazing, because we want everybody to take their wisdom and enjoy their presence. So we have said it like that. And there are so many students who has so many money problems, and they were ready to come, and they came. And then at the end of the event, when we have seen that there were at least 120 people for the whole event. And And there were some people who came to me and said, Madhu, like we cannot pay, but I have a guitar, I can sing a song, will that be possible if I can contribute something? I said, yes, money is not only the way to contribute, like you can contribute your time, you can contribute your music, you can contribute whatever you can, like you can do a little help in arranging the whole event. Maybe you can be of help of some speaker. So when we opened this platform to everybody, like there is no restriction of that confining it only to money. So when we had made it open, it was like a family event. It was at the end, everybody were dancing and everybody were enjoying the event, and everybody were in tears, as if it's that gathering that they were longing for. They felt family, they felt like home and everything. And in this moment, we silently, me and Ram, we slipped from there, and we went to our rooms, and we were just checking like counting the money and all these things. So we counted, and initially it was like 80% was from our pockets, 70 to 80% from our pockets. And then when this box, the money, the registration box had come, and then when we were going through it, like the money was coming close to 10% only from our pocket. It had been it we have to contribute. So like, and I said, okay, wow, this is wonderful, like where is 80% and where is 10%? So we felt really happy. And then there was a knock at the door, that a friend of mine, he came and he said, Madhu, like you forgot this box. What we have decided is, like, there's so many people who have came for this event, so some are rich people, so who can contribute more. So what we did is, like, we had put this box called paid forward. If you can pay, you can pay for one more person. You can just drop that amount in this paid forward box. So that paid forward box was there, and that friend of mine knocked the door and he gave that paid. Oh, you forgot about this box. So when we counted the money in that box, we found that it was exactly to the zero. Like, we did not even spend a single Egyptian pound. Everything, whatever we have calculated, had got back. Whatever we had spent had got back. So that's when me and Ram were in tears, because we have heard many people saying about the intentions and the universe and the abundance and everything, but this in this event we had really witnessed it. We had really experienced it, that um, when we open our whatever we have to the universe and to the people, to the welfare of the people, the universe will take care of you. There is no doubt in it. So when we did it with so much of love in our hearts, that it has to be reached out to the people, that everybody should utilize this opportunity, the intention behind doing this event, and then the universe really took care of us. But the only thing that we have to understand here is no expectations. We did not expect that the money will be coming back, or because we wanted to do it. That's why we did it. It's not like we do it because we expect something from it. No, we wanted to do it, we did it. And then the universe had showered its abundance, and really, really amazing experience. Till this date, we cherish that event, and everybody whomever we talked to about whoever had a part of that event, they till this day they share a lot of stories about that event. And yeah, it's an amazing awake event.
Wonderful experience, Madhu. They say universe is vibrant, is always giving. It's your intention that matters. With what intention, you want to do a thing, and how much effort you put it, how much heart you put into it, that brings all the success. As you said, you need not have any expectations, but try to give your best, and be positive about it.
Mm.
So,
Thank
what is your say on doing meditation under pyramid?
It was in the year of 2008 that we had shifted to Egypt. Egypt is the land of the pyramids. So I had an opportunity, me and my husband had an opportunity to meditate inside the pyramids, along with Patriji and the group, whoever comes from India. So the experience which I had meditating inside the pyramids is like you immediately go into a blank state. There are no thoughts, nothing, no sound. You cannot hear anything. That was in the Giza pyramid. So when we had experienced such thing in Giza pyramid, I had always had a wish to have a pyramid in my home. So there was this person from Egypt. He comes for meditation regularly. He said, "I've been studying on pyramids, and I wanted to experiment on pyramids. So I had a pyramid in my home." He said that. Oh, I said to myself in my heart, "Oh, wish I could have one pyramid like him." He had shown his pictures. Then that's when he immediately said, he read my thoughts and he said, "Madhu, I can make a pyramid for you." Like, and in our living room, we had a big pyramid wherein 6 or 7 people can sit at a time and meditate. So when we had that pyramid, like we used to meditate inside it, we used to sleep inside it. So whatever we do, it is more. What do you say? Like we are a better version of whatever we are doing. So, and as everybody, all the scientists in the world says about the pyramids, that once you meditate inside the pyramids, it's 3 times more powerful, or whatever. There's so many experiments had been done, and imagine if a vegetable put under a pyramid can stay for such a long time, and if we meditating every day inside under a pyramid, how much powerful we can become. Like our thoughts get condensed. Like we think when it is required, we don't think too much, so there is no much of traffic in our head. So yes, having pyramids in our home is very, very important, and very much recommended. So yeah, it's a beautiful experience, and we do have one small pyramid, if you can see on the top. Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you for sharing the importance of pyramids, Madhu. And so, what is your say on plant-based food,
Mm.
vegetarianism? Because many a times when we try to teach meditation to people, this is one aspect that it's very difficult to convince and
Yes.
tell them like why it's important. So, what is your say on that?
About the plant-based diet, Swapna, like I was not a complete vegetarian when I was. My family is not a complete vegetarian, and I was eating eggs and all these things. But once we start meditating, what happens is the urge to eat all these kind of things die naturally. So, like my take on giving to people, suggesting them plant-based diet is, first I will let them meditate. I will make sure that they meditate every day, and I will keep a watch on them that, are you meditating every day? I ask them. So what happens is, with the time, they these things of having these non-vegetarian food will die naturally. So this is what we have experienced. This is what we have shared in Egypt, because in some countries we cannot explain, we cannot force anybody to become a vegetarian, because it has to happen naturally.
From within.
So from within. So the more you force them, the more they get far away from the truth. So we have to be little gentle. We have to be conveying them to meditate, and then once they meditate, naturally it happens that they become a vegetarian. And we have seen in Egypt, being a Muslim country, and they all are, right from the birth, they had been eating lot of kinds of meat. So after practicing meditation, they just turned themselves into vegetarians. So it's no much effort there. But initially, when we convey to people to become a vegetarian, it is very difficult, yeah, for them to accept, because we were like that before. I was like that before. If somebody comes and tells me, "Do not eat eggs," why? Like so. If I understand by myself, then it is very easy to drop.
Absolutely, very well said, Madhu. So, what is the reason? Like, why is plant-based food important?
Why not, Swapna? Because in the animal-based food, animal food is like when the animal is getting slaughtered, it undergoes a lot of pain. lot of pain and lot of emotions it releases. See, imagine you bring a hen or a goat to your home and you feed that animal so good, like the animal thinks that, oh, my owner is taking care of me, my boss is taking a very good care of me. And then one day it gets to know that you're slaughtering that. And animals are the very intelligent beings as well, that they can sense what is going to happen. You can imagine if there are any earthquakes or any natural calamities, animals are the first ones to be shaken. Like they don't stay at one place.
Sense.
They're very tensed. So if something is happening to them, ha- then it is very sure that they can understand very quickly. And at that time, the animal releases a lot of like fear hormones, and all these things are injected in their hormones. So what happens is, like, when we consume that meat, we become that. That's why we have a lot of fears. That's why we don't trust anybody. That's why all these things, because what the animal had gone through, that is what we become. So whereas when we take plant based diet, it is very, yes, there is some karma in it, but it is not that much when we slaughter an animal. So, but even when you are eating plant based food, eat what is required. Don't overeat. Don't pluck too many things, and don't waste too many things. So respect that as well. Respect the plant kingdom as well. So yeah, this is what, like, always opt plant-based diet. It happens naturally, as I told you. When one meditate, when one understand what the animal is going through, naturally these things will come up. We become a vegetarian. So yeah. There is one thing which I heard: if nails and hair are cut, then they'll be growing back again. But if a throat is cut, it will not be coming back again, right? So nails and hair is something like plants. If you cut the plant, it will come back again. You put a seed and it come back again. But if you slaughter an animal, if you cut the throat of an animal, it will not come back. So yeah.
Very well said, Madhu. So, Madhu, according to you, what are the most important qualities of a meditator?
So the most important qualities of any person, for that matter, is like no complaints, no judgments, and acceptance, and having a why not attitude. These are the most important things. If we implement these things, I think our life is set. Our life is so beautiful. So no complaints whatsoever. Like, don't uh, don't grip on too many things. Don't say this is good, this is bad. So accept whatever it is coming to you, and always have this why not attitude. But I always having this why attitude. Why did that miscarriage happen to me in 2009? I was really suffering. When you have question why, then you end up in suffering. Then when you understand that why not, it came to you to teach you something. It came to you that you had to come into the path of meditation. If you have that kind of understanding, so why not attitude, then life is really, really beautiful. So one should always have a why not attitude. And acceptance is a key. So in life, whatever comes, good or bad, accept it, and understand also that everything will pass. So nothing is permanent. So always have this middle path. Don't be don't be too joyful, and don't be too sad. Just be neutral in any situation. Be comfortable.
Beautiful,
Yeah.
Madhu. Very well said. So, for any person, as you said, be it in this path or any path, what is one key thing that actually helps them, or what is that one key quality that one needs to develop so that they can progress?
For me, Swapna, the most important thing is having love for themselves, which is self love. because all these years I've lacked self-love because I was searching love from outside. If my husband is there, I'm happy. If I have a child, I'll be happy. If I have these things, I will be happy. So all these things I've been tagging my happiness, my joy, and my love for others, but I never had love for myself until and unless I practiced meditation. That's the key thing. When you practice meditation, you start to love yourself, you start to accept yourself. So all these things which we had judgments about ourselves and complaints about ourselves, the guilt feelings about ourselves, so it will just fade away because because you accepted yourself as you are, with all the faults, with all the likes and with all the dislikes that you have. So accept having self love for one is the most important thing, because since from our childhood we've been into conditioned lot of things, like our parents had our families had compared ourselves with others. That's where we started having this jealousy feeling and all these things. With the time, what happens is like it stays inside us. In any situation comes in front of us, that thing will be blocking us to be ourselves. So what happens is when you accept yourself, when you have self love for yourself, these things will doesn't exist. These things doesn't exist. The jealousy feelings or all these things doesn't exist, because when you love yourself, you can love anybody in the whole world. If you don't love yourself, you're just acting that you're loving others. You're just creating a facet that you're loving others. So first of all, the most important thing for me is self love. Yeah.
Beautiful, Mother. Very wonderful point. Most of the time, we tend to be our own critics, and instead, we need to appreciate our good qualities and focus more on them. Very rightly said. So, recently, I attended a session on inner child and self love, wherein there was an exercise that you need to identify your limiting beliefs and talk to them as if you're talking to a little child and address them with love. So, thanks for sharing such an important topic with us.
If you allow me, I would like to share a small story here,
Absolutely,
because
Madhu,
this is
please.
this is very important. This story I've heard from my mom when I was very small, and this was the story goes like this. There was this little boy, John, who goes to school every day, and he doesn't have good clothes, and his shoes are torn, and all these things. So the class teacher comes every day to the class, and he says to all the kids that I love you. But deep down, the teacher knows that she doesn't like this guy who is wearing all the dirty clothes and torn shoes and all these things. So his marks are also not good. So the teacher, there was a time that the progress report comes. So when the progress report came, in the progress report, the teacher writes about the little John, saying that this boy is very bad, he's very bad at studies and all these things, all the complaints she writes in the progress report. In that school, what is mandatory is before the progress report reaches to the parent, it has to go to the principal. So the principal has to recheck the progress report and then give it to the parents. So the principal sees the progress report of little John. When she sees the progress report of little John, she calls the class teacher and says, a progress report should be always speaking about the progress of the little child. We should never say all the complaints in here. So the teacher asked the helper in that room to bring the previous reports of little John. So when the helper brings the previous reports of little John, the progress reports of little John, the first progress report goes like this: that little John's mom is undergoing through some health issue. And the second progress report goes like little John's mom had a cancer and she had to be in the hospital. And the third progress report says that little John's mom is in a very serious condition, and there's nobody for little John to take care of. And the fourth progress report says that little John's mom passed over. So This is why little John's clothes are not clean and his shoes are torn, because there is no mom for him to take care of. So his father is lost in his thoughts about his mom. So when the teacher gets to know about little John's past, the teacher starts to cry, and then she realizes that we should never judge a person without knowing his or her background. So she had judged little John, saying that his clothes are dirty and or he's not good at studies, or his shoes are torn. But she never thought that little John had also had some issues. That's why he's like that. So here I would like to say that everybody has a little John inside themselves. So we all had little John inside ourselves, because this child of the inner child is very hurt. So because the us we are the teacher, like the teacher, we start to judge that little John. We keep that little John in a guilt mode, and we will not let him come out. So now it is the time for each one of us to take that little John's hand and say him that, yes, I will take care of you and I really love you. That when you say that, that's when you have this self love, because you accepted that little John, because that little John, and when you accept that little John inside you, you will accept the little Johns in everybody else, because you don't judge the other person. Because before you judge, you realize, you remember this little John, that oh, this little John had underwent some issues, that's why he is like that. Oh, this little John is angry, maybe he had some childhood, he had some past, that's why he is angry. So when we drop these judgments, then we accept everybody as they are. So when we accept everybody, then there is only love. So with our love, unconditional love, surely the other person will transform themselves, they change themselves.
Beautiful story, Madhu. And I know that you and Ram do a lot of service and do a lot of meditation workshops. So you also formed a Beam family. So we wanted to know more about the Beam group and what are some of the programs that you're doing right now.
Yes, when we came to Germany, Patricia told us that instead of Anapanasati meditation, name it as Beam. Beam is nothing but breath energy awareness meditation. So we have participants from all over the world, like Egypt, Dubai, and different countries, and they come. We became one family, because here in this group there is no boss, there is no hierarchy. So everybody is a master. Like Patriji says, everybody is a master. So here we make them come out of their comfort zones. They have to prove themselves, like they have to, every as we discussed earlier, everybody have some talents. So we have created this platform, thanks to this times, thanks to this Zoom, that people are all are coming and sharing their views, and there are lot of talents coming up, and we are really really happy with everybody whoever is joining. And we do have everyday meditation sessions, and we want everybody to lead the sessions. We don't want we to be only leading the sessions. We want everybody. Once you know the technique, you are the master, Patricia says. So once you know the technique, you have to guide others. Maybe I might be reaching to only my friends and my family, but you will be reaching out to your friends and family. So for that, you need to be a little confident, right? So you need to so we had created this family group, like being family group, so that they can guide us into meditation, and then they can gain this confidence, and they can go out into the world, and they can share their own stories, and they can be the masters of their friends and family. Yes.
Well, it's amazing how you're including everyone and giving an opportunity for all the budding masters as well as people who are already, like here since few years. And yes, I did. I was lucky to attend some of the meditations, and I could see how different masters. See, when you bring in different people, they cover different topics, and you get a chance to hear different perspectives. So it's amazing and beautiful service, Madhu. So Madhu, you were mentioning that Patriji is your inspiration. Can we know more about the experiences that you had with him?
Yes, Vapna. I can share very recent one which I had with Patri sir, and it was in the year of 2019 in the month of September when we were in Egypt. So whenever Patri sir goes to Egypt, if we are not there, also we make sure that we are there because Egypt is our second home after India. So and we had a lot of meditations and meditators there. So we thought it will be nice to be with Patri sir in Egypt. So the same way it happened that we were in Egypt in 2019 and Patri sir were there with the Indian group and it was the last day where everybody were leaving to India and one of my friends, he was also in that group. He said, "Sir, Madhu plays wonderful singing balls, so let us listen from her music, sir." He said. So he called everybody. He called everybody to Patri sir's room, and he called me. Madhu, Patri sir is calling you, and you bring your singing balls. So we will make a music meditation. So I was there in that room, and everybody came, and sir started asking everybody's experience, and I was a bit concerned that because everybody had to leave their rooms in 15 minutes, and they have to leave to the airport. So everybody were there in the room, and I was waiting. When will sir ask me to play the singing balls? And sir did not ask me, and sir started asking about everybody's experience. I was a little uncomfortable because everybody got to know that Madhu is playing the singing balls. That's why everybody came. And when they all came and I don't play singing balls, I felt a little bit, like I didn't feel good. So afterwards, I thought sir will ask me to play. He did not ask me. He said, "Okay, now the time is finished. Okay, everybody pack your bags and go to the bus." So they all went, and Patri sir, we had lunch. We and Patri sir had lunch, and sir was about to leave to the airport, and I went to Patri sir and I said to Patri sir, "Thank you, Patri sir, for breaking my comfort zones." This was the line which I said, and for which Patri sir said, "I did not break any comfort zones of yours. I want you to be comfortable in any situation," he said. So that gave a great answer. That gave a great answer that if we are happy, we are happy. If we are sad, we are so sad. So why we have to be like that? Why not being comfortable in any situation? If there is a marriage in a family, if there is a celebration in a family, be okay. If there is a death in the family, be okay. So why, if there is any challenging situation coming into your life, be okay with it. Be comfortable with it. Don't get carried away by that. So that was a greatest lesson I've learned from Patriji very recently, that in any given situation you have to be comfortable. So this was very profound, and I there are challenging situations in my life, and whenever these challenges comes in front of me, I make sure that I am comfortable. The moment I give a power to that uncomfortable feeling, then it rules me. So instead I say to it, no, I am comfortable. That much power our thought has. That much, if we give command to our thought, then the thought which is bothering us will disappear. So I gave that power, and then instantly I become very comfortable, and it will be very easy. So yeah, this was very important experience.
It's a very important message for all of us too, Madhu. You were talking about singing bowls, so I'm
Mm.
very curious. Like, what is that, and like, where did you learn that, and also what is the importance of music in meditation? How do you think it helps?
Mm. So the singing bowls came into my life in the year of 2011, I guess. One of my friends, Canadian friends, when we were in Egypt, she stayed with us for a few months, and she gave a gift, a small singing bowl, and she said, you try playing it. I just tried it and I really liked it. Later, one of my German friends, she also stayed with us in Egypt for a few months, and while leaving, she gave this the precious metal singing bowl, and I started playing it. And when I started playing it, I fell in love with how it. You don't need to learn to become an expert of how to play singing bowls. It's just when you are so balanced in your mind, and the moment your mind goes here and there, then the tune changes. So you have to be completely aware of how it is moving. That much awareness you should be having. And I started practicing it. Once I started practicing it, I started liking it so much. And then when we went to India, I met this beautiful friend of mine, Purvi Jairaj. She's from Bangalore. She's a past life regression therapist. And when we met her, she showed her singing bowl, and it's a crystal one. It's an emerald crystal one. I said, wow. I till then I was not knowing that there is also crystal singing bowl. And it was in the year of 2012 or 2013. So I was not knowing that there is something like crystal singing bowls as well. So I was knowing Tibetan singing bowls, metal ones, and all these things, but never crystal ones. So when I saw that, when I started playing, when she started playing it, it was amazing. It's blowing my head. I mean, like my whole system, my whole body was dancing out of joy. So then I asked her, where did you get it from? So she said, I got it from US and all these things. So then I ordered in US, and then I especially went from Egypt to India. When my relatives were coming from US, they brought the singing bowl to India, and just to specially to collect that singing bowl, I went to India. And then I started playing it, and I started really enjoying it. And this crystal singing ball, I was not knowing much about crystals. I'm not into crystals, but my husband, he showed the brochure of this crystal singing balls, and he said, pick whichever one you like. And the when I closed my eyes, when I opened my eyes, then I found this one which is in blue color. It's a Tanzanite crystal singing bowl. And I said, I would like to take this, not knowing what is the benefits of it, what is it, and all these things. So when I read it afterwards, and when they gave me these instructions that this crystal singing bowl is connected to the crown chakra, the frequency is tuned to the crown chakra. So when I started playing this singing bowl, many people experience this heaviness in their head region, that ears are getting blocked. Like it is going from one ear to other ear. So there were no thoughts at all. So that's how this crystal singing bowl came into my life. Later, one more singing bowl came when I was in Hyderabad. I went to this place called Chilpa Ramam, and I found this singing bowl randomly, which was not supposed to be there in that shop, but it was there. I think it was just waiting for me. And when I connected when I connected to that singing bowl, when I held it, and when I started playing it, I felt that it was not recently made one. It's like at least 300 years old one. Somehow it reached to that place that I could get it. So, and it's like a family. They do have names. I believe that everything has feelings. Though it is a thing, they have feelings. So I named them, or intuitively they told me that their names to be like this. So the small one which my German friend gifted me is like it's connected to the heart chakra. So that's the name of this is Hriday. Hriday. And the crystal singing bowl is connected to the crown chakra, the Sahasrara. So it is Shivoham. And the one which I got it in Hyderabad, which is very old one, is Bhumi, because whenever I play it grounds completely. It just, the moment you hear the vibration of it, it just calms you down completely. So that's how they told me that their names to be, and they're one family.
Beautiful, Madhu.
Yes.
Now even I am also curious to try.
Yes, yes, one should try. It's not like flute, or it's not like violin that you need too much time to learn, or but it's just that you have to be aware when you're playing the singing bowls. Yeah.
Beautiful. And I think it's a good awareness practice too. Now
Mm.
you're trying to play it, and as you said, if your awareness shifts, the music changes, and
Yes.
so you're trying to keep your focus on that.
Mm.
Beautiful. And yes, like many people, some people are comfortable with music while meditating, and
True.
some people not. I'm a person like who would love to, meditate with
Mm.
music. I
Mm.
always feel that it helps me, go within faster.
It works like a catalyst. The music works like a catalyst. So instead of having thoughts, if we hear a music, it just works like a reminder to be with the breath. So when we have thoughts, mm, we don't want to think, but it keeps on multiplying, multiplying, multiplying. Whereas when we hear the music, the immediately the thoughts disappear, and then the music will remind you to be with your breath. So yes, music is
Thank you so
very
much.
important.
Thank you for sharing, Madhu. And
Thank
thank
you.
you, Madhu, for giving us a lot of insights on various topics, especially the most important being self love. Thank you
Mm.
so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Swapna.
What an insightful session that was. Madhu shared her wisdom on various topics like plant based food, pyramid energy, and self love. My key takeaways: treat every situation equally, no complaints, no judgments, and develop a why not attitude. And most important, self love. Thank you so much for joining us today. We have more speakers coming in our next episodes, so stay tuned. For upcoming events and programs, please visit www.pssmglobal.org. Subscribe to PMC Global on YouTube. Thank you, friends.